But you can see, I mean, there's other people here. I haven't even liked her stuff. You can see other people here have commented as well. And it's just good juju for YouTube. So that being said, we're going to talk about thumbnails, and I also want to talk about, oh, it's not on this one. Let me just find a different one. I'll have to use someone else. I'm going to use someone else's to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go back to this one. Oh, good on you, Sarah. I want to talk about, and this will be in the editing process. I know it's a little bit all over the place, but there is a lot to remember with YouTube. So when we can write things down and put them in order, it just makes the process a lot more simple. But what I do, I just put out this video the other night. So what I do is I actually leave a bunch of space at the end, because what you want to do is give people the opportunity to subscribe and to go somewhere else on your channel. So I can actually put more videos up than I've done here, but I'm very minimalistic in my call to actions. I want people to do one thing and one thing only. And really here they have two options. They can subscribe to this channel. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Or click on the video, and you can have like 2 or 3 videos up there. So it's really up to you what you want to do, but I like to keep it very clear so that I don't confuse the end user. And you'll be able to do this in the back end of YouTube. You can actually choose, YouTube's very intuitive, so you can say, if you come to my account, I can actually have the video that shows up for you best for you, which might be different to what's best for you. Or I can say, I just want them to go to this playlist or this video, right? So, let me just go back here for a second. So we talked about cards they're also in the back end as well. And the reason I'm not showing you that is because we can get very lost and very carried away in the back end. There's a lot of, especially for those of you who are not familiar with YouTube, it will be overwhelming. So you're better off taking it slow, having the process written down, and then just going in and just looking and getting familiar. And the other reason I don't want to show you is because YouTube's in the process of transitioning to what's called the Creator Studio. So you might go in and what I show you doesn't look the same, which is just going to confuse you even more. So you're better off just spending an hour playing around, having a look where things are so you know where to go. But there's a card element in the back end as well that you can go into and actually link to your other videos. So if I put out a content marketing video and I say, ways to generate ideas about content for Instagram, and then I've already got a video made that's how to, post on Instagram. It's not a very good example, but it's Instagram related. I might make that card come up, as I mentioned, Instagram in the video. So it's telling people I've got more content about that if they're interested. And the brilliant thing is that we're keeping people on our channel, which is keeping that retention that we want. And retention is one of the driving factors that tells YouTube that we should be ranked highly. So it's similar to when you blog and you put a URL, like you hyperlink to another piece of your own content. So if you've never done that, then you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's like when you read a blog and you can click on something in it and it takes you to another blog post. It's exactly the same in a video, but we're just using what's called cards. Okay. Anyone overwhelmed yet? Yes? I heard grunts. All of this becomes simpler when you just do the work. When you go, I'm going to do it. You make your video, you make sure it's called what it's supposed to be called, and then you just go, I'm going to give myself an hour to post this thing and figure it out. Because once you do it again and again and again, it becomes easier and it becomes faster, and you don't have to think about it as much. I can get a video up on YouTube. I mean, mine is super slow Australian internet. Like, let's just pretend it uploads like that. I can get it up and running in like 5 minutes. When I first started doing it, it would take me an hour and I would forget steps. So when you have a process written down and then you take the time, you don't post it running out the door, you're going to get this right and you're going to see that it actually works. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Thumbnails. So we talk about thumbnails as a standalone thing because they're almost just as important as the video itself and all of the video optimization. And the reason why they're really, really important is because they're the attention grabber. When someone types in how to bake a cake and you've got a killer thumbnail, they're going to click on yours, even if you have the worst content. Again, we still want to remain with the quality. Like, that's always no question. But if you can make a better thumbnail, people are going to be attracted to it. They're going to click on it. And it might be the difference between them never finding you and never subscribing to you and them falling in love with you because they watched one video because you had a better thumbnail and they fell in love with you and they watched everything else. So what we also need to remember with this is it's the same. So we want to start off, just to keep it really simple, we want the same title. We want the same metadata. So when we export it, whether it's Canva, Photoshop, doesn't matter what you do, make sure it's the same title. 7, whatever I said, that thing about being confident on camera. We want it exactly the same. We want our branding to be on point. So for me, as you saw in a lot of mine, part of my branding specifically is my face. So, because people know me. And not only that, it's my light wall. People know me by my light wall. It's super weird when I go places and they're like, oh, you're the girl with the light wall. Yes, I am. But people know me by that because I brand myself that way. I put a lot of photos out in front of that light wall. So you can see I don't really care too much about the color or anything like that. The important things for me on mine are my face and my light wall and my title. They're the important things, right? So I would pick a, if you don't have like your visual branding down, just pick a really simple font like I have. You just want it readable. Don't get fancy. Don't get crazy. Just make it readable. It's really the priority. We're doing this we're doing the colors and the visuals to get attention from people, but we're doing the title and all of that kind of stuff for YouTube. Okay? All right. I just want to emphasize that point. If you're going to do YouTube videos, put your face on it. Like, put your face in your thumbnail somewhere, even if it's just a little circular face down the corner. Put it on there. And I've put Canva there. Who's familiar with Canva? Probably, yeah, most of us who don't do design work. Do them in Canva. They've got pre-made thumbnails, and all you need to do is swap out colors and put in your own photo and stuff like that. It's a great place to start. Super easy. It exports at the right size and the right, what's the word? You know, it's the right size basically. So you want to use that if you're not a designer and if you just need to get the job done. That's what I use. I'm like a Adobe fanatic. I use it. Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom, I can't even think of it, the audio part of it as well. And I still use Canva for my thumbnails. Just get it done. That's the priority. Okay, so I don't know if I want to go there yet. Does anyone have any questions? Because it's a bit of a fire hose, this one. Does anyone need to sleep? Yeah. Needs to be HD. So I think the bottom rung of HD is 720, but I would go 1080. And if you can go above, go above. because basically the better quality it is, the more people can play it through bigger devices and things like that as well. So I don't have the stats on me, but I have looked into the stats before about people who actually watch YouTube through their TV. And I think about our own behaviour in my household, and my 7-year-old is really into Minecraft, and she will sit there and she will watch Minecraft tutorials longer than she'll sit there and play it. Like, it's fascinating. But the quality's there, and also, like, her attention's there. But you definitely need to look at doing it at the highest quality possible. But you don't need to go, like, 4K or anything like that right away. Although, the humble iPhone will record in 2K. And that's why if you don't have a DSLR, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where to start, starting with your smartphone is the best thing you can do. Yes, so did I skip over that? Oh, that was in my last one. We didn't get to it. Scripting. Let's touch on that, yeah? So this is a personality thing, but for the most part, I would tell nearly every single person not to ever script. Not word for word anyway, because what happens is we go into robot mode and we're trying to remember something word for word. We lose our authenticity, we lose our conversational tone, and we end up sounding like we're selling something even when we're not selling something. So we're better off to have, I want to hit these 3 points. Like if I'm going to talk to you today about thumbnails, I want to make sure I talk about title and metadata, branding, putting your face on there, and I want to mention Canva at the end. Like that would be the extent of my script. Now I understand that I'm comfortable at talking and I'm okay with ums and ahs in there. Some people aren't, so they might want a little bit more of something in there. But I'll say this honestly. I have clients who will do a take 20 times and I'll go home and edit it and just use the first one. It's a waste of time. It is such a waste of time trying to get it perfect. By the end, they're rushing themselves because they think that will get it out faster and therefore they won't make a mistake because they're over it. I'm over it. I fell asleep 18 takes ago. And then they actually end up bypassing a lot of what was good about the first one, which tends to be the authentic conversational part, which is like they might have talked about something that they're not talking about here because they're like, oh, I need to cut that out. They're self-editing. You know what I mean? So that's not to say you can't do more than one take. But I would even suggest, if you're going to set up the camera and do it, set up the camera, talk it out once or twice before you even hit record, and then hit record and see how you go. Because the brilliant thing about editing is that you can just edit out all the long pauses. Like if you need to pause and recollect, do it. Like I spend, on a 4-minute video, I'll spend 20 minutes on camera. And I feel like I'm someone who's comfortable in front of the camera, right? But I think there's this thing where people don't want to edit, so they feel like they have to get it perfect. And I rarely, I might have like one client ever who does perfect takes. It's just not a thing. There's a reason it's called acting. Okay. Okay, so we all good? Does anyone else have questions? I'm happy to talk about the video process. I'm just mindful of the fact that this is like a lot of info. And sort of until you do it, it's just information, right? Okay. All right. So before I move on to that, I also want to talk about one more aspect, which is transcription. And you can do this in the back end of YouTube as well. So there's really 2 options for transcription. You can give it to rev.com for $1 a minute, and they'll transcribe it for you and give you what's called an SRT file, and you can put that into the back end of YouTube. Just pop the file in and it will populate the captions that you see, right? And YouTube reads those as well, so they are important to add in because they've got all your keywords in there. They're essentially a form of metadata. Most people don't watch them with captions, but they're there for... The interesting thing is over 85% of people who watch video online are watching it without sound, because probably a lot of people are doing it on the toilet these days. So there is value in having them there. And once you've got that SRT file, you can also put it on Facebook. You can put it on LinkedIn. So it's valuable to have. The other thing that you can do is go into the back end of YouTube, and they can actually transcribe it for you for free. And I used to use this. I tried using it like probably 18 months ago, and I hated it. Maybe 2 years ago, and it was terrible. It could not understand my Australian accent, and I don't even feel like my Australian accent is that strong. And it struggled. It's so Americanized. I've just started using it again for me and my clients, and it's really good now. It's really good. You still need to watch your video back and just check for those words, but you can just edit it yourself. So if like the other night, I put out a video and the person was saying chips all the time, and it kept auto-correcting it to tips. So I was just changing that to chips, and you can just manually do that. So instead of me sitting there typing it out or sending it away and it taking forever, I just let YouTube do its own thing. It took me about 45 seconds it didn't take me 45 seconds. It took me the length of the video to watch it and a little, like a minute or two extra just to correct the parts that needed correcting. And that's a far cry from where it was 2 years ago. So it's definitely something worth considering, because it just adds that extra bit of YouTube juice to your video, and it's worth doing. And you never know who's watching it or where they're watching it. There are so many people bunking off at work watching video, and they want to know what you've got to say, but it's their only time. So it's worth having it. And the other way that you can do it in the back end in the same spot is literally to sit there and type it out. And I used to do that for 5-minute videos, and it would take me like 30 minutes, and I would never charge for my time to do that. I just added it as an extra because I knew it would help. So just be mindful of that, but you don't need it so much anymore. Yes. Okay, I'll show you the back end. I will, because it's probably not fair that I don't show you. So you go into your channel, and then I'll just go into a video that I've created before. Go into edit video. So this will, as you're uploading your video, this will all sort of pop up at that time. I'm going back into a video, so it's going to look a bit different. See, this is a new YouTube Creator Studio. It looks different. Some of you might not have this, so it may look different. But what we want is, I don't think it's in advanced. It is in, I hate this new YouTube studio. I don't know it well enough yet. I haven't, because it flicks in and out of it. There it is, transcriptions. No. I'm going to go into here because this will take me to the advanced options. Here, this is what it normally looks like. This is actually what it normally looks like. So see up the top, we've got info and settings. So that's all my title and all that stuff I was talking about before. Don't worry about enhancements. Don't worry about audio. End screen annotations, that's the subscribe at the end, the extra video at the end. Cards, that's the throughout if you want to send them to somewhere else. And then we've got subtitles here. So you click on subtitles, and then you can go add new subtitles or closed captions. Just click on English. And then this uploader file is if you've got the SRT file from like rev.com or something, you can just pop it straight in there and it'll put it over your video. And then the transcribe and auto sync is YouTube figuring it out. And then the create new subtitles is you typing it in as you hear it. The cool thing about that little service is that as you type, like if I hear, hi, my name's Sarah and I'm from 11 Lights Media, I go, okay, hi, my name's Sarah. And it actually pauses the video as I start typing. So like it's pretty intuitive like that if you want to type them out. Like if you've got really weird words that you've made up or like acronyms and things like that, it might just be easy to go in and create it from scratch. So that's where it is. Is that cool? Did you get all that? Yeah, cool. Yeah, it is. It just sends a stronger message to YouTube because you've got your keywords in there. So basically everywhere you can put keywords, it's there. I want to show you something else too quickly before this time's over because I didn't really touch on it because I got ahead of myself. So when we're doing search, because all of us have under 500 subscribers, we really shouldn't be going for the crazy stuff. We shouldn't be trying to rank on the first page for how to bake a cake because let's just have a look at that. I bet you there's 40,500 searches a month. That's just out of our league. Like the chances that we're going to compete with that are slim to none. So what we actually want to do, and I'm going to show you something that's a little bit more closer to home. So I do a little bit of singing here and there, and maybe, and I don't do this, by the way. I don't do this. But what we want to do is we want to look in for anything that's searches up to 1,000. So we really don't want to go over that. We want to compete in 100 to 1,000 searches because that's actually something we can rank for. Because we're playing in a smaller pool of people, and chances are that we can win that game, right? So how to... I don't yodel. So you can see that how to yodel has 4,400 searches, right? We don't want that. But if we go down and we're teaching yodeling or singing, we could probably go after how to yodel for beginners, at least initially, because that's what it's telling us. It's telling us it's in 100 to 1,000 searches a month. So that's our pool. That's our little pool to play in. So let's click on that and just see what TubeBuddy tells us. Okay, so TubeBuddy is telling us that this is actually good. It's not too competitive and it's got enough search volume worth trying. And we already know it's got enough search volume because we're little fish at the moment, right? So the next step that you want to do, and you might want to write this down because you might forget, but is to go into these first ones and I'm going to show you what to look for. Okay, so what we can see here is that she's got nearly 109,000 views, which is pretty good, and it feels like maybe we can't compete with that. However, look at how many people are subscribed to her. She's got under 1,000. So what that's actually telling us is that she's popping up in search. People are actually finding her in search because that's not her subscribers. She doesn't have 109,000 subscribers. She's only got just under 1,000. So now what we can do is actually look at her channel and begin to break it apart and analyze it. So she has her title. Let's assume she's got it in her metadata because we don't actually know that. She's not repeated her title in the body. She has not repeated her title in her tags. I can see because of TubeBuddy, she doesn't have a high-res thumbnail. So she's not repeating her title in that. She's also, it's not an attractive thing to click on then, is it? We can make a way better, more attractive thing to click on, which means we're just going to get that traffic. She's got no info card. She's not sending people anywhere else. She's got no end screens. She's not really asking for that subscription unless she's asking for it in the video. She's done a few other things well. But comments are disabled for some reason. Maybe she was getting a little bit of flack. But even in the SEO part, 1 of 20 suggested videos are from this creator. So that's saying that this isn't SEO'd very well. So she's not sort of showing up anywhere else. Like it's not suggesting her at the end of the videos. Like you can see all these ones down here are all different. Like that's coming up because I search for that song every day because I freaking love it. That's coming up because I watched that months ago. Like all this other stuff, it's just coming up because she doesn't have strong SEO. So if you're a yodeler or you want to teach yodeling, or you just want people to your page because you're like doing singing and you're showing different styles, you could absolutely capitalize on that. And you could just call it How to Yodel for Beginners, because that's actually what we searched. We didn't search for 3 easy steps. We searched for beginners. And then you could do all of the SEO we talked about before, and you could probably rank for this almost straight away. Like, that's how important it is to play in your pool. You don't need all of the comments. You don't need all of the people looking at it straight away. As long as you're getting that consistent stream of people searching for it and finding you, that actually gives you authority. A few other things to note that you might want to write down is the first 48 hours of YouTube are the most important. So if you have an email list or you have social media, you need to be promoting it in that first 48 hours, because that's the time that YouTube ranks you, takes notice of the video you've posted and how important and what authority it has. And the other thing I was going to say on that is, it just escaped me. First 48 hours, I can't remember. Yes. Oh, embedded counts for YouTube views, yes. So you embed that on your blog, yeah. So then it doesn't really matter if you're sending people to YouTube or your blog, right? Well, the thing with Facebook is you would post the video. If you were going to post the video on Facebook, you wouldn't post the YouTube link. You would post it natively, because you're going to get almost next to no traction on Facebook if you post an exterior link. That's why I suggested earlier that you go live, because that's going to give you the most juice, the most bang for your buck, and say, hey, let's talk about yodeling. And then you talk around it. And then you say, I just created a video on this, you should go and watch it, and I'll pop it in the links, because you've already generated interest, engagement. Even if no one jumps on and says anything or likes it, that video is going to go much further than even a produced video, most likely. But if you do upload it natively to video, to Facebook, you won't get the views on there. And if you're going after YouTube, it's more important there. So you just need to prioritize what you're doing with your channels. So, okay, so we've only got 5 minutes left. So did everyone sort of understand what I did there with the whole looking in that search pool? Was that helpful? Was that useful for you? Because I think knowing that step actually reduces the overwhelm a bit, because you're not going for videos that are just have so much authority in that field that you just would really struggle to rank for them. But as you grow your channel, you can start going after those bigger videos. And it's not to say you can't ever make them either. It's just saying if you're wanting to position yourself as an authority on YouTube and get to that front page, play by the rules, which is go for the stuff you can actually rank for. Okay? There was something else I was going to tell you and I've totally forgotten. Also, like this guy 7 years ago, he's got 457,000 views. He's only got 1,000 subscribers. He's SEO'd this very poorly. Those yodelers out there need to get on this. Honestly, if you know a yodeler, put them in touch with me, because they could easily rank. But this is what I'm trying to explain, that it's not impossible. You just need to do some creative searching. Look for those longer tail keywords. So who wants to throw one at me? We'll just do it real quick. Like, what's your business? What's your business? Building sites. So who do you typically deal with? Oh, building design. Okay. Let's just type in that, see what comes up. We don't have much time left, so. Right, so you could talk about building design specifically in Australia, because that's getting 110 searches a month. Building designer versus an architect, building design management. Like, there's some good ones here that you could go after. And Anyway, I want to touch on the next point just before we wrap up. So distribution is one of the most important things. People create the content and then they put it out and then they wait and they hold their breath. But you have to create momentum around your own content. You have to put it out on Twitter if you're on there. You have to put it on your blog. You have to put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the different places. And that's why I showed you we did the first one earlier where we talked about how to plan out your content calendar and how to create nuggets out of that anchor piece of content. Because if you're creating the anchor piece of content, putting it here, then it's not going to baffle you how to create those smaller pieces of content or direct people back to it through these other channels. But it's the most important thing. And don't feel like you can't rehash content. If something is relevant, talk about it 3 months later and say, by the way, remember when I made this video? And tell people about it, because you're getting new audience members all the time. Different people are seeing your content and you're wanting them to go and engage with it again. So don't feel like it's one and done. Content is not like that. You continue to rehash that content. And I think we're just out of time, which is good because I was at the end of that. But if you have any more questions about it, I do have to leave today and jump on a flight pretty early, so I'll be leaving before this day finishes. But if you want to ask specific questions, do, because this is huge. Like, I could have probably talked to you about this all day and been really more methodical and gone really in depth with everything. But we're just trying to make it happen, right? We're just trying to get it done. So if you have more questions, connect with me, talk to me today. I'll give you my phone number. I don't care. Like, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone and help you get on your way to doing this, because it could be really valuable for you guys, okay? So that's it from me. Thank you for being awesome, and thank you for not falling asleep, because there's so much content.
All right, big round of applause for Sarah Moore. Thank you, Sarah.